What's good, y'all? This is Robert Jackson, and thank you for tuning in to the show. And hope everybody is doing just splendid today. I know it's a nice, warm, hot day, at least from where we both are, like in the sunny Southern California area. So, yeah, as you can see, I already have a returning guest once again. We have Ms. Jamie in the corner. So, thank you so much for joining me. And yeah, really nice to continue this conversation with you today.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. Thanks for having me back.
Yep, anytime. So, I guess I'm not just gonna, dilly dally and just keep on stalling. I just want to get right to the main, nitty gritty here. So, I think from the last time we spoke, I know that you were kind of working on a couple of different stuff that you can't really disclose as of yet, but I know there's a couple of projects that you kind of wanted to announce or share with the audience. So, take it away.
Yeah, awesome. Well, first of all, thank you so much for the lovely introduction and for having me back again. Yeah, since last time we spoke, I've since made some exciting developments in terms of expanding my representation, which feels really good. I've recently been cast in an audio drama as a recurring character, and I'm really, really excited about this character. I've been talking with the director already, and we're kind of fleshing her out together. So I'm really excited for everyone to get to hear that and hear the rest of the amazing work from this awesome cast that I'm joining. And then just like on a personal level as well, I'm working on a couple of projects right now. I just did like a rough storyboard of an animated short. So now I'm in the process of putting together like a visual kind of like pitch deck for people who don't know what that is. It's like a representation or like almost like a PowerPoint presentation that you can show when you're trying to get the show sold or funded. So I'm in the process of that right now and working with the storyboard artist to kind of flesh that out more so that way I can start putting all those things together to move into the next phase of production. So I'm really excited about that, and I have a couple of other projects in various stages of development that I'm writing and working on too. So hopefully in the next couple of years, I'll have some really solid pieces because animation takes a while, but super worth it.
Yeah, coming from somebody who is just now learning animation, like I'm also learning drawing and doing the 3D animation because you've got the blender, so that can be pretty it can be pretty complicated. Like when you're trying to learn
Yeah.
like a new system and just trying to learn the ropes of, how everything just moves and works, but I'm starting to get a grasp of how, uh taking an object and then just moving it around, just doing a little bit of, tweaks and turns, and then, I don't know. Can you tell that I'm really especially nerdy about animation?
Good. It's a fun thing to be nerdy about. I have a couple of friends who are really good animators that I'm blessed enough to be friends with who are collaborating with me on some of these projects. And so that's why I defer to them because I'm like, okay, here's the idea of what I have. You're the one who has the skills. Take it up and like add your bit to it. Because that's the part that's fun to me is getting to collaborate with other really talented people and creatives on it and making something together as opposed to all just like in a vacuum doing it by yourself, which is great too. But for me, I'm more of like an idea person, and then I like to pass it off to the visual artists who are much more skilled than I am.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
So, I think from what you've recently shared with me, you just recently booked a job for Pringles and you got casted in audio drama.
I did. Yeah. Yeah, the Pringles thing was really cool. It was just a one of those, things where you're doing so many auditions and you kind of forget and move on. And then my agents, like within 24 hours, were like, "Hey, they'd really like you for this. Are you available to record?" And I'm like, "Sure am." And I think the whole session took maybe 5, 10 minutes max. It was
That's
very,
how it
very
be,
quick. It
man.
was awesome.
Those quick sessions,
Yep.
dude.
Yep. But super grateful. So that was great. And then the audio drama is the one that I was just touching on a minute ago that I'm really excited to be able to share more with people once we have it recorded and stuff to share when they're ready.
Yeah, and I see you're also developing a pilot, so you've got all this other animated stuff going on. So I see you. I see you. Yeah.
Thanks, man. Out of your hustling.
Yeah, I mean, look. look at me. I'm just doing this little thing here. So yeah,
which is
just gotta keep the
awesome.
yeah. I mean, you just gotta keep the ball rolling somehow. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Whatever you got to do. But it's, as long as, like, your core, you're doing it because you love it. You know? Because, like, for you,
Exactly.
you have this because you enjoy talking about these things with people. So it's like, it's a really fun way to stay creative and get to meet and connect with other people. So I love that you're doing this.
Exactly. So I guess to really start this off, I know we were kind of talking a little bit about, mental health and everything that we kind of discussed last time, but as far as social media goes, because I know you also post content up on your socials, I'm just kind of wondering because I know the process it's like look, everybody just has like a totally unique, different process. So what would you say really works for you when it comes to putting out all of this content that you do on TikTok, Instagram, so on and so forth?
Yeah, well, I think for each person, it's going to be very individual, right? Because it's kind of customized. You're the co-creator of this online presence or representation version of yourself, right? So for me, what feels really important is to try to be as authentic as possible with any of the social media that I'm creating, because otherwise it just doesn't feel real. It feels forced or like I'm trying to put on something that I'm not. And so things that are like on TikTok or whatever, things that tend to be very trendy and stuff like that, I stay away from just because it's like it's entertaining to watch other people do it, but it's not something that resonates with me. So I've had to take a lot of time on each of my platforms to kind of figure out how I want to show up there authentically and in a fun way so that it doesn't feel like work. Because I do some social media content creation for my casting job as well. And so it's like after doing that all week for my boss, it's like the last thing I want to do is come home and do more for myself. So trying to figure out a way to make it fun and engaging and inspiring. So for me, that looks like I have a lot of original characters for voiceover. So, and I love to write because I'm a writer. So I'll write little monologues for them and record myself just like saying their lines and putting it up, or writing an original scene with a friend and kind of doing a collab of that versus like an impression of a Disney character or something. Um, because I think that that kind of stuff is really fun to give some people things they haven't seen before. And then I also use my platforms to talk about mental health as well, because that is something that I'm very passionate about. And so I'll be very real about myself and my journey and things I've struggled with, and things I've learned along the way that can hopefully help other people if any of it resonates with them as well. And I know my friend Bonnie and I, on the last Monday of every month on Instagram, we have an Instagram live at 6 p.m. that we do where we touch on different mental health topics, particularly ones in the voiceover and acting community that a lot of people face or struggles that they go through. And so we kind of share that and hold space for other people that join if they have things they'd like to discuss or hear more about as well. So yeah, we're starting with that and hopefully going to expand that more too, which feels great because that's what I like social media for. Yes, it's a way to showcase different things that you can do and network and stuff, which is great, but it's mostly just about like being in community with people and just connecting with people. And so I love to use it for that and just kind of seeing what's up with my friends as well, or advocating for different organizations or causes or things that I care about and things like that. But I think for, for whomever, just trying to find what works for you, what works the best. And you might have to experiment and play around with different things to kind of figure that out, or take a break from social media for a little bit if you feel like that's something that's causing you a lot of stress or anxiety or triggering feelings of depression. Because I've had to do that too. And then come back and be like, whew, all right, I unplugged for a week or a weekend or whatever, and now I can come back and feel a bit refreshed. So yeah, so I try to use it to be entertaining, somewhat educational, and try to just put good out there more so than anything else.
Yeah, because it can be pretty draining and it can also be very because as you grow like a following, like you're putting yourself out there, you're gonna attract like some pretty interesting people, and it could be, it could be very demotivating, but the best thing that you could do is like I know I don't want to say like, oh, just ignore them, but it's just kind of like, okay, you know what? I hear what they're saying, and that's why I'm gonna do this specifically despite them. I'm kidding, but yeah, just show them what you're made of. Like that's just kind of like, sometimes when people do this stuff, like sometimes you kind of get that little. You could kind of have like moments where you're just kind of like, man, okay. It's kind of like when you're dealing with, stuff that's going on in your head, and you're just kind of like, "Ah, I don't know if I can really do this." And I'm like, nope, you know what? I'm standing here today. I'm doing this thing. I'm just gonna tell them to just shut up and go away. And I'm just gonna
Yeah,
work on something just to not be miserable. You know what I'm saying? There's too much negativity
100%.
going on in the world.
There is, yeah, and a lot of people feel very emboldened behind, a keyboard to say things that they wouldn't say in real life. And I would say that's something that's tough for anybody to navigate, but particularly those of us who are in the arts, like we're very vulnerable, little sensitive creatures. That's why we get into it, particularly actors. And so I think that that's something that's gone on forever is having that resilience where because art is subjective. Once you create it and put it out there, then you know uh, anybody can say whatever they want or have whatever opinion on it. It's just that like back in the day when like an artist unleashed a new painting or did a play in a theater, you wouldn't immediately go back to your post and see everybody's opinions and comments like you do now. So I think it's something that we've always had to deal with. It's just a little bit more in your face and it's a lot more constant because you're being exposed to so many more people in that way. And there's always going to be the good and the bad, but I think just remembering in those moments that your self-worth is not tied to some stranger on the internet's opinion of you. And they couldn't do what you do if they were trying to. So, you know, let them have their opinion. They're going to have it. Hurtful things do get said, and I certainly have had friends who have made videos kind of commenting and addressing some of the negativity on their pages. And I've had some people who are just like, no, just forget it. Just try not to look at those. So again, I think it's one of those things where it's whatever is healthiest for you of how to manage that kind of stuff when it comes in. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely a mix of good and bad out there. So I think just releasing and trying as hard as you can not to be so attached to it once it's out in the world. Just get on to creating the next thing is what'll help mitigate some of that instead of releasing and immediately going and being like, okay, how many likes has it gotten? How many views has it gotten? How many, that part really doesn't matter.
Yeah. So when you do these TikTok or Instagram lives with your friend, you said it was on the last Monday of each month, you said?
Yeah, on the you typically and we post about it on our or on our social medias as well, but typically the last Monday of each month we do an Instagram live.
Okay, yeah. And when you're doing these live streams or what have you, like, you're just talking about all of these mental health topics and you're just really addressing your vulnerability. I kind of got to ask, like, do you feel like it releases such a it is a huge burden that it's just like it just releases so much stress or anxiety that you might be feeling? Do you feel like it's a huge release, or does it kind of get scary just having to be real to people, like just sharing your vulnerability out to the world?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it can be a little bit of both. I think for me, typically I've found that sharing what's on my heart with people feels a lot better and more cathartic of a release than holding it in and trying to just manage it myself because I spent too many years doing that. And it just made me feel almost like sick inside, just like kind of carrying all of this sadness or anxiety around with me. But I find that being able to share that with someone, particularly someone that you trust and feel safe with, like I do with my friend, it just makes you feel so much less alone. Because then you share things and you're thinking up in your head with the narrative you've built, like, oh, I'm the only one that's going through this and blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, no, I'm going through it too, or something similar. And you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, like that does suck, doesn't it? Like, that's a terrible situation and it's okay to be bummed about it. And I'm here for you. And so, I think being able to have that, and yes, there are on our lives other people who are attuned to that, but I think it opens it up for other people to realize that it's okay and it's not so scary out there to share it with other people because we're doing it. That doesn't mean that it's not scary to be vulnerable, particularly because on social media, as you know, everything is meant to kind of look like a highlight reel. And so everyone's like, oh, like your life must be this certain way because this is how it looks online. And then you're like, nope, despite what the pictures in my feed would lead you to believe, I like cried earlier and ate a pint of Haagen-Dazs. You know, like you just never know what's going on with people. And so I think having that space to be vulnerable and be like, hey, if nothing else, and this like breaks up your feed of filtered perfection with just a couple people being real and honest for a bit, like refreshing for everybody involved. And it's been great because we have been getting people being really engaged and sharing that they relate or things like that in the comments in our lives. So it feels good to already know that other people feel less alone.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I said, it can be pretty terrifying just having to share. I mean, it's pretty much like when you share like when you have your own feelings or when you have your own opinions on stuff, and it's just like there's always going to be people out there that are just going to be like, well, you're wrong because so and so blah 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 blah. But then I mean, like, look, for everything that you put out there, there's always bound to be critics that are just going to be like, but at the end of the day, the most and it's like when you try to filter out the good and the bad of social media can be pretty hard as a content creator because it can be really easy to fall in and just fall down that little rabbit hole of just like, oh boy, time to wonder what bad things people are saying about what we're talking about. So, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it's like you just got to learn when somebody is giving you constructive critique versus like, oh, when somebody is just flaming you or what have you. So it can be pretty scary out
Right.
there just, as a person, not just as an artist, but just as a human being.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's something that a lot of people, particularly younger people, do struggle with, because it's very vulnerable. You have to realize, like, yeah, prior to like my generation, nobody was putting their whole lives online or filming themselves and putting them online. And it is very vulnerable because when people say things, it feels like a personal attack to who you are and to your character or your appearance or whatever. And it's very hard to not take that stuff to heart. But I think, like you said, just trying your best to filter through that because everybody's going to have an opinion regardless. And so it's like, don't worry about it if it's not constructive. Because, like you said, there is a very big difference between someone offering constructive criticism on something that comes from a loving and caring place, and people who just want to troll you and just hate on you for absolutely no valid reason. And, I think it's just like in those moments, remind yourself these people don't know me. They're making a judgment about me based on one snippet of something they saw online. The people who do love me and know me, and I myself know myself, and I know my character, and I know that I'm a good person and all this stuff. So I think reminding yourself of those things, it's like those are the only opinions that matter, not the opinions of random strangers. But it is
Exactly,
scary.
man.
It's a lot to navigate.
It really is. Yeah. So last time we kind of dived a little bit into has been. So I guess now we can kind of get to to the point where you know what you can just share your why has been means so much to you. I know we kind of did it the last time, but I guess this is the time where we can just go more in depth about it. So yeah, has been.
Yeah,
Take it
well,
away.
first of all, love that we're nerding out about Has Been Hotel. For anybody who hasn't seen the show, it's on Amazon Prime. You can stream it there right now. I want to say some of it may also be on Vivian Madrano's YouTube channel. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I know Hell of a Boss, her other show that's in the same
It's
universe,
definitely
is
on
on her
YouTube.
YouTube
Yeah.
channel. Yeah, you should definitely check that one out too. But I love Has Been Hotel. It was a sleeper that somebody recommended to me. It was like, oh, I think you'd really like the show. And then the music started blowing up on TikTok, and people started doing a lot of covers, and I discovered it that way. And then I binged the whole show, and was like, I love this because I love the animation style. I love the characters. I think they're so quirky and unique, but have these like redeemable, lovable characteristics in all of them. And being a musical theater nerd with like a musical theater background, I love that they like burst into song and have all these like amazing, super catchy earworms as well. And so the music is just like super fun to do, and the voice acting is really fun to listen to. And yeah, I'm excited there's going to be more seasons, and I would love to be on the show. So I'm available if you guys need me. But yeah, it's super fun. I love it so much, and all of my friends know that I'm like fully obsessed with it right now.
And what is it about Has Been that just kind of resonates so much with to you?
I think I really love the message. Like, first of all, that all of the characters have their light sides and dark sides, right? Like, people like are flawed at their core, and so that shows a little bit of like the more dramatic animated version, but like the realism of humanity. And I think the message behind it, I really can relate to Charlie at times with it's like, well, like everybody has a chance and like is worthy of being redeemed and getting a second chance. And like I love that that's the premise, that she has such a good heart and is in the right place and wants to help people. And I think the other characters, whether they have their own agendas or their, opinions about what she's doing, they ultimately like come together like a family and support her in that community. And it kind of turns, that your ideas of heaven and hell on its head a little bit as well, and like what constitutes a good soul versus a bad soul. And so I just think it's like really fun, but gives you a lot of interesting themes to think about. Why do you love it?
Yeah, I haven't really seen too much of it, if I'm gonna be honest, but that's because there have been some other indie shows that have. I mean, I'm not saying that. Okay, look, I'm just. If I say that, oh, this one indie show is even better, no, all of them are like, they, you know, each of them they kind of do have their pros and cons. So I'm just saying that, like, oh, with a lot of indie animations, I definitely do think that it is at an uphill. I mean, like, look, everything's kind of like at an uphill battle right now. I'm just saying because with the industry and everything. So to see something like Has Been, the Digital Circus, Lackadaisy, and a couple of them, I just gotta shout that out because a few of my friends are in it. So love you, Belle.
Hey.
So yeah, there's just so much that is out there, but the reason why, Has Been just I think it really caught on so well with so many people is that it touches upon themes of like, oh, like maybe there's a chance of redemption, or is there something that happens? Because for even in my stories, like, not to give away any spoilers, but there are themes of like, oh, okay, so and then I also wanted to bring on the important message of like, look, somebody, and it's also kind of like when we go to the Bible. Like, I kind of use the Bible a lot as like, an inspiration, as an influence for how these characters are. And specifically, I remember reading there's like scripture saying that, like, oh, for those that are leading, the path of darkness will not enter the heaven of God. And then there's other scriptures that I could go on about, but those are just kind of like the main theme that the Lord has placed in my heart just to share, is that sometimes those we choose which paths that we go to. Like, we can go to heaven or we could go to hell, but it can kind of be pretty scary to really think about. So that's pretty much the main theme of what I have in one of my stories. Is like, there's this bad guy, and then, they do really bad things, and they is there a chance of him for redemption? Does he choose to be good or evil? You'll just have to see and find out when it eventually comes out. Yeah, so that's kind of
Yeah.
like one of the main. I just really like. I think that's pretty good too because each of us have a dark side and we kind of have like a light side. So not all of us are perfect, okay? Like it can be really easy to just go with the temptations of the flesh and just following Christ. So we just have to choose one or the other. Like it specifically does say not to be lukewarm about, Christianity or anything of the sort. So yeah, that's
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm kind of also a nerd when it comes to the Bible and, being a Christian myself. That's just something that I'm super passionate about. So there you go.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think religion is you know, something that everyone definitely has their own like spectrum of belief system about, right? And I think that
Yeah.
what she does so great in the show is while she did a lot of study and inclusivity about that, and I know it was a bit based off of some elements of like I think Dante's Inferno as well. And so it's yeah, it's cool playing around with those themes, but then ultimately having that question that's like, yeah, but like what if these people like do ultimately want to like lead for good or do want to be redeemed or turn over a new leaf, and are they capable of that? And seeing the personal growth journey that all these characters go on, I think that that's really really cool to see and really inspiring, and like I said, wrapped up in a really fun musical package. Because I think content wise, a lot like people want to feel happy. They want to feel like there's hope. They want to feel optimism in entertainment right now. I think there's just so much darkness and craziness in the world that something with any kind of hope or inspirational message, I think, is going to really resonate with a lot of people.
Exactly. Yep. That was just beautiful.
Thanks. That's the kind of stuff I like to try to put in my original work too, is that I want to,
Yeah.
to bring up scripture, like be the light in the world, So I want to use
Yeah.
my stuff
Hmm.
to help inspire and uplift other people. And like I said, help them feel seen or less alone or loved or, any of that kind of stuff. Because otherwise, what am I even using my creative platform for? That's what I feel called to
Yeah.
do.
It also helps to add your own life experiences too. I mean,
Totally.
that's kind of obvious, but yeah, a no-brainer. But yeah, it helps a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think we discussed like favorite media last time when it comes to what we've watched or who we're influenced by, because that also plays a big factor into our careers. So take it away, share some of your influences and inspirations.
Oh man. Well, there have been quite a few over time. I mean, as far as my writing style goes, a lot of my work is inspired by artists who balance dynamic character development with a lot of heart and usually elements of comedy and dark lightness and darkness juxtaposed and mixed within, because I think that that's similar to life. So I like to reflect the truths of that. But even like with the animated scripts that I write, the characters I think are really relatable, and they go through different things, some of which I've gone through in my life, others inspired by people that I know, and I have a lot of fun writing those. So like I've always been drawn to projects like, for example, if there was a TV show, I really love This Is Us, A Million Little Things. I really loved Parenthood back in the day. Like I love big ensemble casts like that, where there's comedy and like very real heartfelt moments. As far as movies go, I mean, I've always loved Robin Williams. Who isn't inspired by him and his genius, his kindness, his talent? So that always kind of sits with me in the back of my mind when I'm performing or approaching anything acting wise. But I mean, there's so many talented people out there, both in voiceover and on camera, that I've been inspired by. I love Kate Winslet. I love Kari Walgren. I love Tara Strong, E.G. Daily, Debbie Derryberry, like all the amazing female voiceover artists who've come before me with their incredible dynamic performances. Jennifer Hale. There's just so many. And so honestly, I've just kind of growing up watching all of that stuff and hearing their performances and the things that they were bringing to it, or watching animated movies, all that kind of stuff. It really, I love Pixar for that very reason. I love Disney too, but Pixar has been so great at storytelling and original stories that do really capture your heartstrings a lot, and do create characters that you can love and relate to, especially like who didn't cry in Toy Story 3, especially if you're like a millennial, like oh
Um,
man,
oh my gosh.
like yeah, like it just, it gets you. Like I don't know a single person who didn't cry at the opening montage of Up when you go through their whole
Oh,
beautiful
you just had to
love
bring that
story.
up. Man,
And
you just gotta bring
I
that
had
up.
to, so we can all collectively cry. But it's like, it's those moments that are so beautiful and so touching, and it's special because it connects with people of all ages. They can find something to relate to. And so that's the kind of stuff that I'm inspired by, that I really want to incorporate in my own work as well.
Yeah, I agree. Gotta bring up the childhood trauma, didn't you?
Oh, I did. I did. It's either that or somebody doesn't have a parent. That's what they did to all of us to just make us feel traumatized as children.
Yo, like, how many Disney movies where you see the father, like, passing away? Like, for real.
Yeah, the father or the mom. And you're like, come
Yeah,
on,
it's
man.
either one of
Like,
the two.
why
Yeah.
does every.
I was just, I kid you not, I was just watching Finding Nemo, and fun fact that I found out about, the opening scene of the movie, that was added in at the last second because, I don't know, because I think I remember the story one was like, oh, I don't know if the audience was gonna get the intention or if they felt it was running too short. I don't remember the reason, but yeah, that was like a last minute addition. So, when I mean, this isn't really spoilers because I know everybody has seen it at this point,
Yeah, by
but
now. I
yeah,
mean,
like, when the wife, was killed and, there's only Nemo, like, all of that was last second. And that's how you know why Merlin is so overprotective in the way that he is. So, and there's so many stories where I think I kind of like the stories where the character goes through some goes through stuff. I think that's kind of
hmm
the what inspired me to do my own stuff. So yeah, just a heads up. I mean, there's one that I'm doing that is more comedy, Ed and Eddie based, but yeah, the main one
fun.
that I'm working on, there is gonna be a lot of stuff, trials and tribulations. That's all I'm gonna say. So
Yeah.
yeah, I guess
Awesome.
with yeah, like I said, just doing my own thing, you know what I'm saying? So, um, I don't, I really don't think there's really much else to discuss, but I just wanted to thank you so much once again for stopping by today. And yeah, I know we kind of had to reschedule a bit. Like, both of us are just kind of like, that's kind of what happens. Like, one of the downsides of being a working like voiceover artist or just a creator in general is just, we're just always hopping from one thing to another. So I just really want to appreciate you for
Yep.
taking the time to chat with me today. I really do.
Oh, of course, Robert. I am happy to chat with you anytime about all the things. I am happy
For
to nerd out
sure.
with you about all of it. Also, for people
God.
who can't see right now, he's wearing a Pikachu shirt, and it's
Yeah.
incredible.
It's funny because I got like all the Sonic stuff behind me, which quick plug, Sonic Revolution. That's tomorrow in Carson, so come on by, see us. I don't know when this is gonna go up, but yeah, see me and a couple of other creators, so just want to throw that out there. So until next time, everybody, and I really would love to do another one of these where we could just geek out about anything. So, you know, email,
Sounds great.
all that good jazz. So until then, thanks everybody, and I'll catch y'all next time. And this is Robert Jackson signing out. Stay happy, stay cool, stay positive, and especially stay cool, cause good, good golly, the heat.
For real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So take care, y'all. Bye.